All right, good afternoon, everyone. I trust that you all are doing well this afternoon. Today we have a very exciting session, which will include a presentation from GRA as well as the CLBD. So I will now hand you over to Deborah, who will introduce the representatives from those organizations, and I will ask her to touch on what they will speak and also give you some background information for the speakers. So Deborah, over to you.
Good afternoon, everyone. Could someone confirm that they're hearing me clearly?
Yes, we are.
Yes, we're hearing.
Okay, great. Thank you. So this afternoon, we just want to welcome you to this session. We are so glad that you were able to make the time for it. And as we begin, I will start to introduce our two speakers who have graciously accepted to present today and have taken the time to do so. Our first speaker today will be from the Center of Local Business Development. We have Ms. Nicola Balram, who is a marketing and entrepreneurial professional specializing in brand management, communications, entrepreneurial program design, and business advocacy. She has 10 years of experience and also has a background in economics, which helps to guide her professional work. While she manages the overall communications of the center and stakeholders engagement events, her portfolio also includes co-leading entrepreneurship, mentorship programs, and workshop facilitation with a focus on people and culture. Our second presenter this afternoon comes from the Guyana Revenue Authority, and her name is Ms. Susan Watson, who is currently serving as a tax specialist in the Tax Advisory and Publication Unit at the Guyana Revenue Authority. Ms. Watson has over 31 years of experience. She started with the former Inland Revenue Department before it became the GRA. Throughout this extensive career path that she had various roles, moving from the rank of Finance Clerk 2 to then Finance Clerk 3. She became a senior clerk, then an inspector of taxes, an acting director, and a training manager. And as I said before, she's now serving as the tax specialist in the Tax Advisory and Publication Unit. Now, from these introductions, we can tell that these two ladies have a wealth of knowledge, which they are going to be contributing today in an effort to ensure that our entrepreneurs are more informed and more ready for the business world that they are in. So without further ado, I pass you over to our first speaker, Ms. Nicola Balram.
Thank you so much, Deborah, and good afternoon to everyone on the call. Just give me a couple minutes. Let me share my screen first. All right.
Yes, I give you permission to share, Nicola, so you should be able to.
Great. All right, can everyone see my screen? You should be seeing a little, the heading saying adjusting our entrepreneurship mindset.
Yes, I can.
All right, perfect. All right. So again, thank you everyone for being here today. My name is Nicola Balram. I'm the communications manager here at the Center for Local Business Development. And a couple things before we get today's session started. So I do have a few housekeeping rules just for this session. Please ask your questions. Please stop me during the presentation at any time if you have any questions, comments, or concerns. I will ask that you raise your hand so I'll know exactly who it is. I may not be able to see right away, so I'll ask Deborah and Damien just to say, hey, Nicole, if I don't see it, we have someone here. And I would encourage you guys to get off of that chat and ask your questions. I love to hear your voices. I would love to see your faces if you feel comfortable to share as well. But I know some persons may have bandwidth issues also. I do recognize some of the businesses and some of the names on this call. You have been in previous accelerator cohorts I've been at. You've also been in previous sessions I've managed and I've facilitated. So please know that you may be picked on just a little bit during today's session as well. But again, they know as well, this is a safe space. It's just to impart knowledge onto you all. So we'll jump straight into it. So in my role at the center, and based on a lot of what I do, there are many topics that we can touch into. And I know through this program, you're also getting a lot of key competent areas in certain business endeavors and business acumen. But what I found in many of the programs that I lead and also interacting with a lot of business owners in my day in and day out job, especially for growing businesses and maybe even growing businesses in the female entrepreneur space, sometimes mindset can be a hindrance to us all. So for today's session, we're just going to briefly go through some of the top tools and top tricks you can use to help succeed in getting that entrepreneurship mindset. And we're not going to call this building the mindset, it's just adjusting our current mindset in areas that it needs to be adjusted. So the biggest question that I get a lot from a lot of businesses, whether they're coming through the center, I know them personally, the biggest struggle that they may be facing now is, why is my business not growing? And why am I not getting contracts? Do we all say this at least once a month, once a year? If I could see some hands, please raise your hands if you agree or you disagree. I see Anissa raised her hand. Anissa, do you want to unmute for me and let me know your thoughts? Do you agree, disagree? You're on mute.
Hi, good afternoon, everyone. I'm currently driving, so don't pick on me too much to do talking.
No problem.
But yes, I do find that it's a bit challenging getting contracts and competing with bigger companies out there and the requirements that are needed, that are necessary for small businesses to acquire such contracts that are out there.
All right, I see. Thank you so much for sharing, Anissa. And thank you for being the first brave person to come off and speak. Do get wherever you're going safely. Safety is my #1 priority. Alani, you said you felt this way before. Do you want to share a little bit more with us?
Sorry, I didn't get that.
Alana, I'm asking Alana on the call.
Oh.
If you could unmute. All right, maybe she's unable to unmute at the time. But yes, this is a very common feeling from many entrepreneurs, from many business owners, even many persons that have high technical roles in companies and industries they don't necessarily even own. Why is my business not growing? Especially when you see everywhere around Guyana is the fastest growing economy, that everything is changing, more businesses are coming up every day. And why am I not getting contracts? Whether it be contracts in oil and gas, contracts with the government, contracts with bigger businesses, even other businesses that we want to get contracts with. And these, on my next slide, you'll see some of the key reasonings, I would like to call them reasonings, that I've heard and seen from many businesses. And please feel free to unmute and let me know if any of these stick out with you. So these are some of the reasons we say, I'm not getting finance. They're not giving small businesses the chance. They know who they want before they even put out the contract. They know banks not giving no loan in this day and age. No one is telling me how to do this. I start this business, I don't know how to do this, somebody's supposed to come and help me. I don't have the time and I don't have the team. It's just me, and I still gotta go and pick up my child from school. I still gotta go and cook roti for my husband, Damien, and please don't get offended at this. The government is not giving me the land. I applied 15 years ago and I still waiting on my house and land, I still waiting on my commercial land. There are too many restrictions. There's so many documentation, especially in oil and gas. It's not supposed to be this hard to run a business. People say they want this all the time. They're supposed to be more flexible. I'm here to provide a service and they're not helping me out. What was the problem if I came 5 minutes late for this meeting? Is Guyana. They must learn how to do business in Guyana. So tell me, actually raise your hand if you have never said any of these things or thought any of these things before. Again, raise your hand or write a comment if you have never, and once in your life, you've never said or taught any of these things before. All right, I don't see any raised hands or comments. I mean, everyone is truthful already. So that means between starting your business to now, even maybe when you are even an employee, you would have had at least one of these thoughts throughout your entrepreneurship journey. Deborah, I'm gonna pick on you a little bit. You think about this sometimes, right? See, Deborah, and Deborah's working for a company, she's working for a cause too. So
Yes.
imagine sometimes that could be Deborah's thought. As an entrepreneur, it is magnified by at least 1,000 times. It's 1,000 times harder to be an entrepreneur than someone working for a company, working for a business. Granted, both do have its advantages and disadvantages, but nothing is wrong with having these thoughts because in reality, these are things that are happening every day. But it's how you position your mindset. And if you really are truly honest with yourself, if you know, or if you're very aware of everything that you need to be to ask these questions. So having these questions boils down in essence to two main things, or two things as your starting point: awareness and culture. No matter what business you have, where your business is situated, even if it's not a business here in Guyana, small businesses, growing businesses all over the world have these same questions. And some of them don't effectively answer these questions because they go off of what they know, not necessarily what is the situation in the market space or situation in the industry. And also a big part of it, and I've seen this a lot, not only with entrepreneurs, but everything in Guyana, it really does boil down to culture and mindset. So for the next couple of slides, I'm going to pull out some of the key business struggles I know we are all facing or have at least faced, or maybe we're coming up close to it. And instead of taking that more evasive approach to say, the government isn't giving me my land, oil and gas companies don't want to work with me, how do you now shift your mindset to understand, I really need to understand what the problem is here, what the problem is to me, and I need to formulate a way how to fix this going forward. So the first one is formalization of your business and documentation. I know this scares a lot of businesses. I don't want to call any business out, but I know that many companies, many sole traders in Guyana, many individual businesses, you don't want to have your, and it's amazing that GRA is on this call because that is one of the things I know a lot of businesses do struggle with. You don't want to get your business VAT and TIN certification number because you're afraid the government will take your money. But if you really look at the law, and I think when the GRA, Third One experience in the field is very amazing. She'll be able to let you know that once you don't make a certain profit line or limit, you don't have to pay taxes in that area. But the benefits of formalization and documenting your business is way more than the benefits of not doing it. And this is why this is the very first thing I put in this session, because you'll see everything else hinders around formalization and documentation. So before you come to any situation that you see it requires paperwork, documentation, a number, a seal, a sign, before you get a bit, oh, it's just one more thing I have to do, one more way these companies want to know my information or what's going on, take a step back, take 90 seconds and think. And instead of getting more direct, ask these questions. What are the basic requirements that I need to fulfill? What benefits does this give me as a business? And what are the first small steps I need to do. Because it can be a lot, we're acknowledging that. But if you take it one step and one day at a time, that will definitely help you out. So the next one is access to finance. We all know that the banking system in Guyana could be a bit more flexible, but we know some of the reasons why it may not be is because of the laws in Guyana. Also, the banking and financial sector is very heavy on risk. I just met all of you. If I asked any one of you here for 100,000 Guyanese dollars because you just heard what I do and what I can do, would you give it to me? Renuka Autar, would you give me $100,000?
I'm sorry, I'm driving, if you can hear me. I was stopped by the police, so I didn't know what I do there just now. Did I raise my hand?
No, I'm asking for some interaction. I don't want you to answer if you're
Oh.
driving, though.
Oh,
So
yes, I'm driving, sorry.
Could somebody tell me who is not driving? Mainwati, are you driving?
Are you here? Hi, you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you, Lee.
Oh, okay. No, the name is wrong. I think is my name is Yvonne. No, definitely I will not, because I mean you what is it in there for me? And not only what is it then for me, what proof you have that you really will pay me back this money, or that will you put this money into what is needed for? You have to show me. You have to come like, okay, with the idea, establish a business plan, a proposal. Show me things that, okay, when I put this money into you, then it's moving. It's not like you will do your own thing, or you say, well, we come to agreement, you will pay me in such a time, but I see that you could pay me because you're a potential business, and so not just because you say you need money and you're a small business and you want to grow up, I'm going to give you the money just like that.
Exactly. I saw Nicola had her hands up. Nicola, would you like to unmute?
Hey, good afternoon, everyone. Yes,
Hi.
the answer to the question is no. And it's just like the previous person said, I don't know you. I have no background information on you. I don't know how reliable you are. I don't know if you're capable of paying back this amount of money. So it would be a no for me.
I feel sad though, man. Nobody willing to give me $100,000 today. You know, Christmas coming up. Times might get hard, you know. Hard thing. Thank you guys so much. But that is true. That is the mindset a lot of banks have, because they're there to help this, and that's what a lot of their marketing pushes forward. They're here to give loans. They're here to help you build a line of credit. But you also have to do your work, because banks are very risk averse. Remember, they also have to listen out to country laws, to international banking processes. And if you just come into the bank, and you can just be aware that you're not the only growing business here in Guyana. Every day a new company is being formed, and every day they probably get hundreds of people coming to them. So like you both rightfully said, they need to know, where is this investment going? What is your plan to pay me back? And that's when things such as forecasting and showing past records come into handy. If you are now starting the business and you don't have past customers or past records as yet, you should be able to show them that I started this from this amount of savings. I'm able to project this amount of growth in the next year because I know the markets I'm going after. I'm actively going after clients. So anytime you hit an access to finance roadblock, and I know all of you may have already went to your individual bank, you know there are merchant banks here in Guyana as well. You know, there are other lending options like the credit union, different unions, or even grants. And this program, for example, is being funded by a donor right now. So that is an avenue of income that is here to support you. But anytime you get to this roadblock, I want you to take a minute and you start asking a little bit more thoughtful, financial geared questions. So why is risk important to this commercial entity specifically? How can I de-risk my business in their eyes? What options work for me? Because Citizen Bank might work for Jenny's business, but it doesn't work for my company. Republic Bank might be a better fit for my company. So again, it's understanding all of those elements and asking, even if it feels like it's a hard question, or even when you go into the bank and you meet any customer service related person, they're there to answer all of your questions. They're supposed to be the experts in this field to understand how their system works. So then you can dissect that information and see how best it falls into your system. Now, the next question is, where are the opportunities? I've had many businesses, guys and girls, locals and international, come up through these center steps. And if any of you have ever been at the center, it's a very long step to climb. They catch their breath at the top and then they're like, where are all these opportunities? I hear it all of the time. Oil and gas is growing in Guyana. All sectors are expanding. Guyana is expanding at a rapid rate. But everywhere I twist and turn, contracts are already being awarded. I can't get in because their companies building roads, their companies making cake, their companies flying planes. How do I get in? Now, for that, everywhere has that information, but it's how do you pull it together in a sense that makes sense for you. So the National Procurement Tender Board, they do have a site where they publish all of the government vacancies and procurement opportunities. All newspapers usually publish a lot of the government and once in a while oil and gas. Our center site also publishes all oil and gas, and we publish even some government tenders as well. You may know people like Deborah and Damien who are in business development, who know a lot of the associations, who maybe they are more versed in agriculture, in your agriculture-based business, they may be a good person to tap into. But when you're looking to now map out how you go after business, because you need to cast a wide net to understand, but everyone is limited on time. So you need to pick like maybe those top 5 sectors or top 5 businesses you really think you're a good fit for and go after. So when you're looking for opportunities, ask these questions. What sectors do I fall into? What does my supply chain look like? How does the government procurement sector work? How does the oil and gas sector work? How does the business-to-business Guyana sector work? And what is my 3-step plan to get there? Now, the reason I said 3-step plan is because 3 steps, if you start, it can be a very long process. It can also be a very short process. It can be a lot of things to process in your mind. But if you outline, if you take little chunks and say, these are the first 3 things I'm going to do, you'll see that by the end of maybe a week, you can complete 15 things and you're a lot closer to knowing. So if I know I have a bakery business, I make beautiful chicken pies and cheese puffs and cheese rolls. But I know there's Maggie's, I know there's bacon, I know there's the Gare. So what is my 3-step process to figure out where I fall into? So I know my strengths, I know I have a good product, I know where it's located, I know what my average price could be, I know how I can get it to customers. The first thing I need to know is who is my other immediate competition. The next thing, who are they currently servicing or providing information to? And you'll have to get a lot of this information through networking or marketing research, secondary research, or primary research. The next one is, how do I differentiate myself from them? And once you finish those 3 steps, then say, okay, what are my next 3 steps? So you keep building on that repertoire going forward as well. On this slide, the last one is time matters. A lot of persons, especially with a lot of influx of international companies coming in, those countries and those companies are very punctual on time. Even this call, you saw it started exactly at 3 o'clock on the dot. I think Damien only allowed about 3 more minutes for other persons to come into. Most of the time, Guyanese and international businesses are cognizant that you may have an emergency, especially when it's a large group like this. But I think Tuesday's example is the best example with the 5:30 contractors call. 5:30, the gates were closed and you weren't allowed in. So it's having that understanding that your time is valuable, your supplier, your client's time is valuable as well. So if you know you're not going to make a meeting that was set, or you know you're going to be a bit late, or you know something may come up, call persons and let them know, but also get there at least 10 minutes before. So whenever you have anything that is time-based or time-sensitive, especially if it's a big meeting, ask yourself these questions. How can I get there 10 minutes earlier than the actual time? If it's starting at 9 o'clock, I should be there at 8:50. What can happen to me, or actually what can happen to my business if I am late? Your mindset should never be, oh, I'll be late, but it will still be fine. Your mindset should warn you about that time. If I'm late to this meeting, what could happen to my business? Right? And the final question is how I can make it up. So there are certain times, if you had a good repertoire with someone too, they may be forgiving, or you call them before and say, hey, I know we have a meeting at 1 to 2, but I'll be there about 15 minutes late. And you come in 15 minutes late, 20 minutes late, and you continue your meeting and everything is fine. And at the end of it, you offer the person another apology. I'm sorry, is there anything I can do to make it up? And the person might say, just be there on time for the next meeting. But because you are cognizant and you apologize for this one and this one time going forward, that already changed their mindset towards you now. I saw some comments in the chat, so I just want to, I think it's Dika's Spices. I forgive you, don't worry. But yes, but that is something that I know it may seem like a bit of a sore topic to some people, or maybe it may seem very small. And you're like, Nicola, why are you saying this right now? But it's something that I find it's often overlooked and something that should be enforced as much as possible. Because the reality is a lot of other businesses are coming up. A lot of other competitors is in that space. So you need to know how to differentiate yourself based on best practice and your unique selling points as well. All right, so for the next slide, we have a couple more. Meeting the right people. So a lot of businesses, a lot of female businesses, I should say, often say that it is a man's world. Sometimes to get into some of these, what they call quote unquote, old boys club. Some of the industries are very male dominated. Some of the events are very older person dominated. So how do I get into these? How do I get into these places where doors have been shut or I don't even know where the door is? How do I find the door? Much less the door, I can't even find the building. Where is the building, right? So the secret sauce to this is meeting the right people. So again, when you start to map out the sectors and the industries and what your supply chain looks like, what your network looks like, now you need to hone down a little bit. Who are the right people I need to meet? I need to network it. They might not be your end goal, but they may be your road to someone who is your end goal. Also in this space, it is a bit of sometimes like when you look at the data and statistics, a lot of female owned and led businesses sometimes have a harder time navigating and networking than their male counterparts. And sometimes this comes because of a lack of confidence or a lack of a structured networking plan. So for this, for a lot of businesses, we advise get comfortable being uncomfortable. Start talking about yourself and your business. Practice networking, but have a bit more of a structured networking approach. Identify when you go to an event who are the three people you need to meet for your business. If you're a bit shy, identify someone who you may feel like they're your safe space. So every time you meet a new person, you can always come back to your safe space to get a little bit more energy from that person and vibe. What do I need to say? Also, you have to find that sweet spot between actively always selling your business and also finding out more about them so you can tailor your pitch to them as well. So those are some of the questions that you need to know on meeting the right people. Work-life balance. Now, I know this is a group of female entrepreneurs. I know we do have a lot of you guys that are balancing being a mother, being a wife, being an entrepreneur, being a business owner. Some may also still have part-time jobs that you still maintain. Some also have a lot of volunteer work. You're active in your church and your communities. You have active external and extended family activities. But how do I find that balance between work and life? Realistically, you cannot do all at work. And realistically, you can't do all in life. So you need to know, where do I find that balance, or how do I? So some of the questions you can ask as you look on your business side: what are my strengths at work? What are my working strengths? How can I delegate what is not my strength? and also what takes up the most of my time. But a key thing to this is as much as you delegate, you also have to make sure you keep time to manage those delegation tasks, especially if persons that you're delegating the tasks to are new to your entity. They may be a new graduate from university. They haven't been in the working world as yet. So you also have to coach them along as you go through. Feeling alone. How many of us sometimes feel alone in this busy world of being a boss bay entrepreneur? You can raise your hand. Bibi, how about you?
What was the question? I'm sorry, my internet is not very stable, so
That's
I'm
okay.
not hearing every other word. What was the question?
My question is, do you sometimes feel alone in your entrepreneurship journey?
Most definitely.
Yeah. Nicola, you want to weigh in? I see your hand is up.
Yes, I feel the same way as well, because it's basically myself doing everything in my business. I am baker, the cake artist designing the cake, everything, the finances, everything. So it does get, lonely and overwhelming. But I'm working towards expanding and hiring personnel. So yeah, but it's lonely.
Well, first of all, thank you for sharing that. Thank you for being so open and honest about it. And if I'm looking at the chat now, I see at least 7 individuals are saying me, they raise their hand, yes, 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 all the time, wearing all the hats. So that leads me to my next point. Have you ever thought that there are many other people that are literally in the same boat as you are? They're in a similar storm, even if they're not in the exact same boat, they're in a similar boat because they're managing their own businesses. They have other things to consider. They may not want to talk to their husband right away for this. They may not have a girlfriend that's an entrepreneur that understands what they're going through. So I think one of the benefits of going through programs like this, any mentorship program or any association, is that you have to really give into the networking opportunity, really find someone in this class or speak to someone here that I'm sure everyone is at some point in that journey right now. Even if you look at someone and they seem like they have it all together, they're probably facing more challenges or different challenges than you ever thought, and they themselves feel alone too. So if you're ever in that space where you feel alone, don't wait for someone to reach out to you. Get that little courage inside you and say, listen, I'm going to find someone that I just need to talk to. And if you reach out to someone and they're not your vibe or you don't see it as a fit, that's okay. It's like dating. If you date it, like you date person 1, 2, and 3, you end up marrying person 3. You don't say person 1 and 2 was a waste. You just say, all right, that was just good dating experience. I know what I don't want in someone now. So if every time you're feeling alone, just don't give in to that negative thought. Be a bit more positive. Say, well, who is in the same boat as me? Who can I reach out to for a cup of coffee, a walk on the seawall? Who do I look up to in business in Guyana? Let me find them on Facebook. Let me find them on LinkedIn. Let me reach out and just say, hey, I look up to you. Would you mind grabbing a cup of coffee? I just want to chat for an hour. I'm looking for a mentor. I'm just looking for some amount of help or just someone to offload for a bit. So don't be afraid to come out of that shell. The next, and I guess final one on this slide is big businesses get the work. How many of us have felt that way, that anytime we may have bid for a contract or we're speaking to people, or if we do a lot of B2B or we do a lot of B2C, we see the big companies end up getting the work. All right, I see some hands raised there. In my role and in my career, I've been very fortunate to work with all types of companies, all types of businesses. I do have a couple of sectors that I work closely with, but the story is still the same, no matter if it's someone now running a family business that was passed down to them, someone now starting out their company, or someone that's the head of a big local company in Guyana. Story is always the same in terms of everyone always has challenges and problems. When they were small, they thought the big businesses had no problems. When they got to medium size and big, they have more problems now. And now a lot of times when I have those discourse with them, they don't even ever talk about profit or capital as much. Sometimes when they know that a contract doesn't come true, or even with COVID, I was working in the tourism sector and a lot of the hotels shut down. The first calls I got were from hotel CEOs saying, Nicola, with no travelers and no profit, I have to send half of my staff home, and I don't know, and I can't promise them when I'm going to get them back. And they were on the phone with me saying that they know their cook just gave birth to a baby girl. They know that their front manager has an ailing grandmother, and they don't know, and her salary is helping to support that. So when you get to a big business and you have staff, those are other problems that come up. So I just want to put that in context for you all as well. Every business has problems. Yes, big businesses would have gone through what you're already going through. Maybe they don't have those problems, but they have others that come up, other challenges and struggles. So whenever you are faced in your networking situation or faced with a big business and you find like a negative thought comes in your mind, like they already know this, they don't have to go through it. Take a step back and say, did they really start off like me, or did they start off like me? What challenges do they face now? And sometimes it might surprise you. Nicole, you had your hand up. Do you want to say something?
No, sorry, I didn't take it down from the last time. Sorry.
Oh, no, that's totally fine. I see someone raise their hands. Miss Dover?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, you have a
I
comment.
would like to make my comment is what is most important in Guyana and the world today is that everybody is trying to make money. And small entrepreneurs that are now getting into business, one of their serious problems, if you ask each and every one of them, their problem is to access funding to vehicle their business to a level where they can make more income. And most importantly, I really would like us to address this issue. Sometimes some of the organizations that are supporting small entrepreneur businesses, the demands are onerous to bring these people to the fore, right? It's very, very, very onerous. So you're left out there in the wilderness, struggling all alone, doing all your work, all the clerical work, doing all the this, all the that, hardly getting enough sleep, and you're actually stressed out. And still, after some point in time, you never get where you ought to be. But I would not like us to forget that the main point I'm making here this afternoon, how do small entrepreneur people in Guyana access better funding to enhance their businesses?
All right, Marlene, I fully agree with you. Accessing finance is difficult. Whether you're a small business, whether you're a big business, even when you're an individual, just so nobody won't give me $100,000 on this call. I fully agree with it. And I do think, personally, that there is more to be done in the financial sector. I know banks are looking into different avenues. I know the government is looking into their laws. But a big part of this session today for me is awareness. I've taught so many classrooms, met so many people. I just want to ensure that persons are aware. So let's do a quick, I know we don't want to get too much into it, but if we have like a quick 2 minutes, let's do a little bit on the finance side. So guys, please indulge me. Please raise your hand in this chat and keep it up until I tell you to go down. If you have spoken to more than 3 financial options for your business. This can be any bank. You've been to SBB. Raise your hand if you have spoken to 3 or more options for financing in your business. So the options could be your friend. So I can list it out: your friend, your family, SBB, Republic Bank, Demerara Bank, all the banks, they're individual ones. So if you have spoken to 3 or more options, it doesn't mean that you've given your money to them or they're supporting you. But I want to know if you have spoken and found out the process for at least 3 or more financial options for your business. Keep it up until I tell you to put it down. All right, Damien, how many people do we have on the call?
68. But in terms of women entrepreneurs, it would be like probably 63.
63. All right. So you guys can put your hands down now. Thank you so much. Now, out of 63, only 5 of you raised your hands. And my question was that you went and you spoke or you had a discourse with financial options in Guyana, right? All right, my next question. Out of those options, please raise your hand if you found one that was okay for your needs. It doesn't have to be perfect, but was okay enough for your current needs of your business. And this could be that you just have general savings, right? All right, we have a couple more. Thank you guys. You can put your hands down. Now, if you can raise your hand, if you know of one financial solution that will help your business right now. I mean, if it's Christmas, right? We're giving away hopes and dreams in the season of merriness. If I told you right now, I can give you whatever your one financial solution for your business is. Tell me that you know exactly what that financial solution is. How much you want, where it's going, what you plan to do with it, what you plan to tell me, or how you plan to repay me. Again, we have about 5 or 6 hands of 63 persons. About 7 hands of 63. So Miss Marlene, I agree with you 100%. There's so much more that can be done in this access to finance space. But my point in this too is that given the current situation, I mean, you can't always change a whole industry by just talking. People are having those discourse in their conversations. I've been part of some of them. I've seen it or I've heard about it. But my point to a lot of you now is try to understand what is available and how it can help as much as it can help for those. I know a business personally, they went through a lot of the programs here at the center. They went through some of the Sherry Blair Foundation programs. They came to an access to finance session here at the center. In about 4 months, they were the very first female-owned and led business to get merchant bank financing in Guyana to purchase a new facility. And the same points a lot of you raised before, she had to show her documentation, her finance, she had to forecast, because the reality is it's harder to run a business. And I'll be very straightforward. If you all can run a business, I know you're all doing it well. But if someone comes to me today and say they want to start a business because they don't want to work with their boss, then I'll tell you, oh, you need to be aware of what's happening as an entrepreneur. All right, you guys can put your hands down. If you have a question, keep it up though, and I'll get to you before we move on to the last couple bits. Jewel, I think you have a question.
I actually have a solution. Good afternoon, everyone. I've came to the understanding that in accessing these loans, people look at your credit history in the sense that your relationship with your money. And I've had my struggles. I've tried so many times to get multiple small business off of the ground, and capital indeed was a big issue. And during all of my research, I come to realize that you need to have some history, good history with your money. And because of that, I came up with a beautiful idea of hosting a seminar as it relates to credit-wise, empowering your financial journey, whereby I will be collaborating with Everydata, formerly known as Credit Info, the organization that literally deals with your credit history. And I've been trying to get persons to come on board, just to be a part of it. And people I realize, keep talking about a problem is not going to get it fixed. You have to come up with solutions. And that's what I've been doing. But persons still do not see the opportunity there at times. But That is just my solution.
No, and Joseph, if I can find the applaud hand on this while I'm sharing screen, I will put it up. Because I do that's why this session today, I didn't come with any technical marketing or technical business development things. It's more about the mindset. And you were one of the prime examples, as in, this is the problem, and you're not seeing all these solutions coming up as quickly as it should. Maybe let me try to see. I personally didn't even know that you do need that until recently, like I would say about a year ago, that's what banks also use. If you don't have that direct line, everyone has a credit score and a credit score, I believe. And it starts off, you don't even know that it's a global thing, or a credit union has it, and they use that to give you credit cards. Even when you purchase something on hire purchase from like Courts or Ashley's Furniture, that actually goes towards your credit score. And I didn't know that. So those things are also good to know. Miss Murley, you had a comment?
I would like to walk away from this meeting this afternoon with a win. I'm into cleaning and construction. And for the past 3 years, I've had some very adverse circumstances facing me. Here I am in another week or so to sign a contract, right, for a certain amount of money. And I anticipate at least $1 million. The very contract itself will say, look, I am into an agreement with the government for above $1 million. Where can I go to now? I'm not asking the question. I'm telling you how onerous it is, that I will take that document and somebody, on basis of the credibility of that document, say, look, we know that the government would pay you maybe until next year, March, but here is the $1 million and we are going to give it to you. We don't have situations like that in Guyana.
Well, I understand, and I understand and I agree, because I know that's how the system is set up. And I know for some government contracts, they give a mobilization fee. I know governments are looking to see if they can do purchase order financing from banks. I know that's a long conversation coming. But again, it comes back to, if you go to any bank, the question, they would say they would happily give you that $1 million, but they will have a list of requirements you have to do. And
all manner of things.
Correct. But I'm saying that don't take that sometimes as, maybe it could be, right? Maybe it could be that you've been an entrepreneur for 15 years and you're not getting anywhere, and you're like, listen, all right, to pack up the shop, and the cake shop closed and everything like that, right? But it could also be, listen, I know in year 5, this is what they want. I have to now build a credit system. I have to now manage my cash flow a bit better. So when I come back in 6 months, in a year, I can say, this is my cash flow. These are the contracts I would have lost out on. These are the contracts I still got. So it's using that information to your advantage. But I agree with you. There's still a lot more to be done in finance. But today I just want, and you guys have been through more struggles than I probably would have known or understand in relation to access to finance. I'm just helping you to shift that mindset thinking, so it doesn't get you too down, and you're looking, anytime you hit a wall, you look to see, what is that little crack that I can still make that difference for? Giselle, you have a question, and we can move on to the last 2 slides.
Not a question, but a comment. You mentioned Courts as being one of the companies that the credit info team would assess, as far as, considering you to give you any sort of loan or to review your credit score. I wanted to add, can you hear me all right?
Yes, go ahead.
I wanted to add that a key consideration is defaulting payments. That could impact your credit score if you're late on payments to any of these hire purchase companies, repayment of any existing personal loans or other commercial loans. Those can impact you. So you'd want to ensure that your undertakings are squeaky clean, if you can frame that.
Yes, and that is a good point. So I think that is where you kind of remember to, if you don't pay for that couch, you're not getting the couch. If you don't pay a bank, and if you put out a mortgage, that then they could probably take your house. So that's why it's important to build up that mindset as well. So I know we do have to move on quickly. Now I do have 2 final slides for you guys. So the one big question I want you all to come away with today is list one thing that you think you need to have that mindset shift in. So out of everything that I've mentioned, and even maybe something I haven't mentioned before, if you know that there's something that's bugging you all the time, that you know you've hit all roadblocks, listen to yourself and really look in yourself and say, have I done all that I can do? Should I look at this from a different perspective? There are 2 key principles that I would like you guys to take away today. There is one that this is my favorite one. It's called Ikigai. It's the Japanese concept of the purpose of being. And it's basically where these 4 circles in your life intersect. So the first one is if you're doing something that you love. The second one, you're doing something that the world needs, meaning that there's a gap in business, there's a gap in the industry. You're doing something that you can be paid for. People are paying for your service, and you're doing something that you're actually good at. So when all 4 of these circles intersect, you found your Ikigai in life. And the last one is taken from Stephen Covey. It's the 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. This is a wide-known book and principle. There are agencies in Guyana that also teach this and some of these principles. I just want to let you guys know, these are some of the core concepts that we're teaching into right now. So be proactive. Go after, learn a bit more strategically and a bit more structurally where these opportunities, how you can go after it. Begin with the end in mind. Put the first things first. If you have a long day, you do the first things quickly. Think win-win. What's gonna win for me, my supplier, the country, the government, the individuals, the customers I serve? And this is a big one. Seek first to understand. And then for people to understand you. Synergize. That's where I highlighted a little bit more. Map out who your networks are going to be, map out where those opportunities are, and sharpen your saw. If you know that you need qualifications, you need more education, or you need some more experience in a certain element, either get some online courses or classes. Being part of this program is one of the biggest ones as well. So with that, I just want to thank you guys so much for your time today. I know we do have another presenter. I'm sorry if I went over by a little bit. So Deborah, Damien, over to you guys as well.
All right. Thank you so much, Nicola. Ladies, I know you have lots of questions that you want to keep asking Nicola, but we have to proceed with our next presenter. We can arrange another day for another session where we can ask Nicola to present again, and once we are in agreement, we will do that. So now, without further ado, I now pass you on to Ms. Watson from the Guyana Revenue Authority.
Hello, a very good afternoon to you.
Good afternoon.
You hear me? Is everybody hearing me?
Yes.
Okay. I'm not, okay. Stop the video. Okay. Good afternoon again to everybody. I'm Susan Watson from the GRA, as mentioned by Miss Deborah. And Miss Austin, thank you for having me, as well as Mrs. Sirach. I wouldn't be long. Could you allow me to share my presentation? Thank you. You can't see me? All right, just so I don't know what's happening here. I don't know what's happening with my my system, but it's not allowing me.
So just request to share and I will accept it so I could give you
Okay
permission
then,
to share.
no problem. Thank you.
Most welcome.
So you're seeing it now?
Yes, I can see.
Everybody's seeing it? Okay then. Okay, so I'll be speaking about taxes. I know everybody scared of taxes, but don't be scared. GRA has benefits for you too. Okay, for the small businesses, you're required to register with the GRA as long as you have a small business, a large business, a company, a partnership, you're required to register with the GRA. But before you register with the GRA, you need to register with the deeds registrar first. And you must have a business name when you go to the deeds registrar to register. Then you come to the GRA with that registration as well as your ID card or a valid passport, and we register you there. As a sole trader, which we're dealing with now at presently, you must you use your TIN, your personal TIN. We use that for your business, which individual TIN always begin with 1. Partnership TINs begin with 2, and companies begin with 0. That's how we differentiate the difference between the TIN, right? As a self-employed person, you are a self-employed person, a person that is working with themselves in the various categories. We have plumbers, we have shopkeepers, we have the doctors, we have electrician, and the list go on. And you are the person responsible for making your profit. All right? You handle all your money transactions. So that is a self-employed person. So with the GRA, the self-employed person is required to do a number of things. As long as you register with us, you're required to you have certain obligations with the GRA. But some persons might say, oh, I don't want to register with the GRA because, I don't have, I'm not making enough money. You don't have to make our threshold presently, it's $100,000 a month. But if you're not making that money, you don't have to pay any taxes to the GRE, right? But you should register with the GR because if you go for a loan, it's important that all of those loan agencies, they ask you for a liability statement. And the liability statement is to show whether or not you have returns outstanding or tax outstanding for the GRE. However, in a case where you're not making over 100,000, well, then you're not required to pay any taxes, but you need to submit your returns to the GRA showing that you haven't been making over 100,000. So the obligations of a self-employed person is to keep proper records of all your expenses and everything that you do for your business. You have to ensure that you have a record. You remember in the olden days, the old people used to have a wire where you push all the receipts in and keep them safe. You need to do it. You need to have those receipts there and keep them in a safe place. You also need to submit your income tax return, whether or not you're making a profit or a loss. You still need to do so. Self-employed persons pay in quarterly installments. You make your taxes paid in quarterly installments if you're making a profit, right? And the profit means that you minus all expenses from that money. The difference you pay taxes on, providing it's over 100,000. The quarterly installments is on the April the 1st, July the 1st, October the 1st, and December the 31st. You required also, if you have employees working with you, you must submit Form 2 and Form 5. The Form 5 is the monthly deductions, and where you pay over that, you have to pay over that money to the GRE. And the Form 2 is a summary of the Form 5. Where you don't have to make payments then unless you have monies that due for GRA. and you pay it over then, only in that case. You also required to pay to submit, give the your employees emolument slip or a 7B slip at the end of each year or the beginning of the year, because they're required to submit their return, their individual income tax return. Records to maintain, as I mentioned earlier, as a self-employed person or company, partnership, whatever business you're in, you're required to keep records, such as all purchases and all income, and that means all income and expenses, gross receipts and gross sales, records of income and expenses, any sum received or expended on any transaction you're having. Allowances are allowed, which is wear and tear. It's for the first year. The wear and tear of plant, machinery, equipment, and building, which is used only in your business. So if I have a taxi service, for instance, I can only claim for my taxi service in terms of if I have to purchase an engine for somebody's car or so. I cannot claim for electricity, because electricity come under something else, because it's not in keeping with my business. All right. Then all your bank, all your accounts, like transaction that going through the bank, you must have those statements. All assets that you acquired during your business, the shares, if you have any shares, right, by persons resident in Guyana. And even if you have transactions that are being done with overseas companies, you must keep those receipts. Annual stock taking, which we call it the inventory, right? So those are the records that we need to keep as business owners, right? The benefits of GRA, I told you earlier that GRA has benefits for you. So if you're paying your taxes, right, and you can claim for your mortgage interest relief. The mortgage interest relief is just for your personal home. If you purchase a land or a building or a land and a building, you can claim for your MIR, providing that you're paying taxes. And you can get your certificate of compliance, like with the government. When you want to tender for government contracts, you need these tender compliance. You get those certificates with ease because you know you're up to date with your taxes, your returns are in, and that's it for the tax area. You can also obtain refund if you overpay taxes. You're entitled to have a refund. And you also avoid payment of penalty and interest. So if you pay your taxes on time and submit your return on time, you don't have any problems with GRA. They would not have any interest. They would not have any interest incurring on your statement. Okay, so the Income Tax Act, Chapter 8101, speaks about computation of taxes, right? It talk about deductions allowed, deductions not allowed, and the computing of income tax. I wouldn't go a lot into this, because a lot into the calculation. I know some of you, I'll leave that part for next time, because that would take a lot of time. I just go through it quickly. All right. So the deductions allowed for small businesses, according to Section 16 of the income tax, it allowed for bad debt, repairs and maintenance, rent paid for land and buildings, interest on capital loans, rates and taxes on immovable property, premium on fire insurance policies. So those are the deductions that the GRA allow. We are also allowed wear and tear, right? And wear and tear is given under Section 17 of the Income Tax Act, which is addresses any building, housing, machinery, plant, machinery, and equipment. And we have deductions not allowed. As I mentioned earlier, deductions that are not allowed are the ones that are not in keeping with your business, right? And it's termed as domestic and private expenses, such as if I have my house in which I use the bottom flat to do my business. I'm only allowed a part of the expense which deals with my business, right? Rent of or cost of repairs to any premises or part of the premises not paid or incurred for a purpose of producing income. So the part that it's for my personal use, I'm not allowed to have that. I can only claim for the repairs for the part that I'm using for my business. Any capital amount, you're not allowed to claim the capital amounts. You also, if you have to pay income tax, corporation tax, or property tax, or any other tax, you cannot claim that as an expense in your returns. And any expense that does not pertain into the business operation, that those are those are not allowed. Those are the expenses that not allowed. Right? Okay. So as small businesses, you would want to have you would want to bid. Some persons might want to bid for government contract, which presently the government is offering lots of contract for small business as well as medium businesses too. And in order to bid for those contracts, you must the government would ask you to get a tender compliance from the GRE, right? So in order to get those tender compliance, you must ensure that all 8 years of your returns, if or whenever you start your business, you must submit those returns and file your pay all your taxes. Right? If you have any taxes outstanding or returns outstanding, you have to ensure that you keep those, bring those up to date, and then we would issue that tender compliance to you. The liability statement, right? A liability statement also deals with it's a statement that should prove that you don't have any taxes and returns outstanding for the GRE. And the types of liability certificate that GRE offered or give to taxpayers are those gratuity, those persons coming off from the job and they have to get a gratuity. I know some of you might be working at two places. You're employed as well as self-employed, and you're entitled to your gratuity. You need a liability statement. Then if you have to get any pension benefits when coming off, you need that. If you need a duty-free concessions, those migrants coming in to Guyana to have any business, to form any business, they would need a liability certificate, because we still need to see that, well, yes, they haven't been working in Guyana and they have no taxes outstanding or returns out for us. The Guyana Energy Agency also, if you're bidding for contracts with them, they also need liability statements. Small Business Bureau, that's very big for for you small businesses. They always request this statement from the GRE. Forestry also. Brokerage, if you want to be a broker, you need to get that a liability statement. If you're having businesses in money transfer with any commercial banks, you need that. Ministry of Tourism too. They need that. Exportation of gold, you need that. Firearm license as small business. Some persons need the firearm license. Neutralization, you also need a liability statement in those cases. Okay, so with this, with self-employed persons, companies, or partnership, you submitting your, not companies, sorry, the small businesses as well as the medium businesses, as well as partnership, you need to submit your returns and the documents that are required when you submit your returns. In that return, you have to submit your profit and loss or your income and expenditure statement. Also, the financial summary of those statements. The balance sheet as well as a financial summary of that balance sheet, the wear and tear schedules. If you're claiming for wear and tear or loss relief, you need to attach those schedules to the return, as well as all of these financial statements. It's advisable that persons who it's advisable that you get an accountant to assist you in preparing these documents, because sometimes you might claim for an expense and it's not allowed with the GRA, and you have to pay that amount back in taxes to the GRA, which you might say that is not fair. So it's advisable that you get a certified accountant registered with GRA. Let them show you that certificate to prove that, yes, they certify with the GRE in order to pay, in order to prepare those documents. And they also have to sign as preparing those documents too. So that's all for returns. If you have any question, you can stop me, right? I'm going now to the tax rate. So GRE has the tax rates. The first tax rate is 28 and 40%. 28% on the chargeable income, which is up to 2,400,000. The chargeable income is the income when you have your profit and you minus your expense. That amount that leave back is considered be your chargeable income, right? Your when you do all your calculation, well, we allow you the threshold. Let me rephrase it then. So you have your income, you minus your expense. You have the amount of money that leave back. We allow you the threshold, all right? And if you have medical and life insurance, we allow you that. But as a self-employed person, we don't allow you that NIS. So when you add the threshold, as well as the medical and life insurance, if you have that, you minus it from the difference with the profit and the expense. The profit minus the expense, that total, you minus it from that, and you come up with the chargeable income. That amount of money now, that's what we tax you on. So if it's up to 2,400,000, we give you 28%, 40% thereafter.
Ms.
Small
Watson,
businesses, yeah.
just before you continue, I'm seeing a hand up. Ms. Dover, you have a
Okay,
question?
no problem.
Question.
Yes,
The
Ms. Dover.
fact the growth of our economy, doesn't it affect the 28 and 40% that Chinese are now paying in income taxes? Shouldn't it, in fact, affect those rates that we are paying in taxes?
Okay. Thank you, Ms. Dover, for your question. At the beginning of the year, the government, it doesn't. That's the answer to it. It doesn't affect it. Because this is a standard tax rate that is being given by the government at the beginning of each year with the budget. It is being mentioned in the budget at the beginning of the year. So this does not change, right? What
Thank you.
the government do, though, the government give you a threshold. They allow you a threshold. So you don't pay taxes on that threshold. I hope I answer your question.
Yes,
Yeah.
thank you.
Okay then. Thanks. So the small businesses now, the small
Just a minute,
businesses,
Ms. Watson. We have
no
another
problem.
question. Ms. Paris,
Okay.
go ahead.
Yes, Miss Paris.
Could I ask another question? Could I ask a question?
Yes, go
Yes, you could.
ahead.
Yes, I'm trying to understand. I'm trying to understand the chargeable income of 2.4 million. Now, they have two percentages, one at 28% and one at 40%. I don't understand the chart. I think I understand that when you have income up or maximum 2.4, then you start paying taxes. Am I correct there?
No. This is where the 28. What
Okay.
I'll do in
So
later
how
in
do
the
we move from 28% to 40%?
okay. So after above 2,400,000, we apply the 40%. In my presentation, I'll bring up some calculation not too long from now, and I'll show you how we come up with that calculation. It's because it's easier to show you than to speak about it. Calculations, you have to see it. So
Okay.
I'll bring it up shortly, not to worry.
Another question that we have, is the presentation going to be shared?
Yes, the presentation will be shared. You can take it and share it.
Great, thank
Right? I'll
you.
send it to you.
Thank you.
Okay then. So small businesses, those in manufacturing as well as construction services, and you register with the Small Business Bureau, you'd only have to pay 25%. That is a concession that is given by the government under the Small Business Bureau Act 2004. So if you're heading in this direction, yeah, you would have a reduced rate of taxes. Okay, so now we go into the calculation. Let me go to a yearly calculation because I don't want to take much of your time. Okay, so this example here, says netly yearly profit is 1,300,000. His medical and life insurance premium is 50,000. The threshold, it's 100,000 monthly and 1,200,000 yearly. The medical and life insurance that is being given by the government is 10% of the gross salary, or in your case, the gross profit. Premium paid or 600,000, whichever is less. This is for the year, right? This is the calculation now. The net profit, remember I told you your profit minus your expense, that amount is 1,300,000. The deductions that you are allowed as a self-employed person, we give you the free pay because say salary is less than or equal to 3,600,000, right? So we give him the free pay of 1,200,000 because as we assume here, his salary is very small. He says has a medical and life insurance, right? And you can't go above 360,000 yearly. However, we use the least of the amount. So we give, say, $50,000 as the medical and life insurance. We add the free pay, which is 1,200,000 plus the medical and life insurance, and we got the total. We got 1,250,000. We minus that from the net profit. Somebody had asked me about the chargeable income. The chargeable income is now the net profit minus this total deductions. That is where we got the 50,000. That is what we consider being the chargeable income. The tax this person would have to pay now is 28%. on 50,000, which give us 14,000 in taxes this person has to pay. Remember, we spoke about the 2,400,000, we apply 28%. 50,000 is it's less than 2 million. So we apply 28%. This is how come the 28% rate is applied. All right? Any question on this before I go further?
Yeah, yes. Although I understand how we arrive at the 50,000, but you had two rates. You had one, I can't remember what was the rate. It was 28 was the highest rate. And there was another rate that was lower than that. When is that applied? When is the lower rate applied? And when is it, well, I'm saying the 28% is being applied even at 50,000. So I'm confused.
Okay. So Ms. Paris, let me explain this. So the 28% is applied on any amount, any chargeable income up to 2,400,000. Right? That is the amount that the 28% applied to. Thereafter, after it reaches over 2,400,000, that's how the 40% apply. So anything thereafter, 40% range you fall into. So some persons, the tax rate that apply for them would be 28 and 40. Some people 28 alone. All right? Any questions as it relates? I'm going to one with it 40%. So you would be, so it would be a bit easier. Look at this calculation. Mark yearly, let me go here. Okay. So mark gross salary, which is for the year. It's $9 million. Mark does not have a medical or life insurance. However, because Mark's salary is more than $3,600,000, right? 3,600,000, sorry. We apply the 1/3. We don't give him the threshold of 1,200,000 because of his salary. So this is the calculation for Mark. All right. So his salary, which is we call it profit in your case, the net profit would be $9 million. The free pay for him would be 1/3 of this 9 million. Right? Then the 9 million, 1/3 would be $3 million. The NIS ceiling that we would give him would be 188, 160. With small business, we don't give NIS, so we forget about that. However, the chargeable income would be 3,188,160 minus the 9 million. Right? This is a case with a self-employed. I'm sorry, an employed person. So we minus 3,188,160 from 9 million, we get 5,811,840. On the first, this is how if you notice it now, this is where it's showing the two tax rate. On the first 2,400,000, you minus that, you apply the 28%, right? And you get 672,000. However, the remainder, to get the remainder, you minus 2,400,000 from 5,811,840, and the remainder you got 3,411,840. That amount you apply the 40%. So now this person paying two tax rates, which is 672,000, 1 million 1,364,736, and you get a total tax payable as 2,036,736. When the easy thing to remember is if your salary is over 3,600,000, you always apply the 1/3 to that amount. And when you have in a 1/3, when a 1/3 is applied, the 28 and 40% always applicable in those cases. But because this presentation would be shared with you, so you can go through it with a fine teeth comb. I know calculations is not something that, that you can catch on right away like that. You have to, like practice it. Any
Just
questions with
excuse
the
me,
calculation?
Ms. Watson. Yeah, I see
Yes,
Ms.
my
Dover
dear.
had her hand up, so I just wanted her to ask her question.
No problem.
Go ahead, Ms. Dover.
Yes.
Hello, Miss Dover. I'm listening.
Ms. Dover, I think you need to
Is
unmute
it
you.
the more you earn, the more you pay?
Correct. The more you earn, the more you pay.
We have another question. This relates to the MIR. If your home is used as a business address, do you forfeit MIR?
I didn't get you, Miss Austin.
The question the person is asking, if your home is used as a business address, do you forfeit MIR?
Okay, so MIR is only given for your personal, not for a business. Is if it's for your personal use, domestic use. In terms of this is your first time owner of this house or land, then you would be given the MIR. You wouldn't be given a MIR for your business. GRE wouldn't allow that.
Okay. Another question that we have is, what are the deductibles that are applicable to self-employed persons?
Okay, so let me go back to the slide that we have here. So deductions allowed for self-employed persons is bad debt. That is one. Repairs and maintenance to your equipment and machinery. Rent paid for land or building. If you're renting somewhere and for the business, yes, you can claim that. Interest on capital loans. You can claim that as an expense. All of these here, rates and taxes on immovable property, premium on fire insurance policy, you can claim that. If you have staff working with you in your business, you can claim for the NIS as an expense too.
Okay, great. And I'm gonna ask Abigail Bonita, Candice John, you can unmute and ask your question. You said you have a few. Go ahead.
Good afternoon. All right, thank you for allowing me to speak. Ms. Watson, good presentation, but I have a few questions outside from what you presented. Now, most of us here, our products will soon be exported, and we were advised that we have to go to GRA to get an export license. Is this export license something that you keep a yearly basis, or is it just for when you're about to ship out, you're able to procure that? My second question is also all right, you could answer that. I just get blank out quick. You can answer that one in the meantime, please.
Okay. Okay, no problem. In cases of with the export license, you need to check with the Ministry of Business first, right?
Ministry
Of Business. Yeah. They would give you a letter as it relates to anything with export and import. Yeah. They would
Okay,
deal
so
with
the
that
same thing
aspect.
goes if we want to bring in our own equipment and material, we have to go through Ministry of Business.
Correct.
Also?
And that letter, yeah, correct. And that letter is used, this is being when you come to bring in, when the import is coming in, you use that letter to produce to the GRE. Those letters, either export or
Oh.
import.
Okay, so it still didn't answer the question fully. Are you aware if this license is a one-off thing or it's just when you're
Okay.
shipping?
Okay, so GRA does not issue license for those. It's with the Ministry of, yeah, yeah, it's with the Ministry of Business issue those license. We don't issue anything of that sort. We just facilitate the export and import where we would check the container, we would check, yeah, we would ensure that you have all the documentations to import in keeping with the legal requirements. So we don't have anything to do with those license.
Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
And we have a question coming out of Roberta, and she's asking, are you refunded on VAT paid on purchases for your business? And if so, what is the process?
Okay. Well, VAT. Okay. So if you can only claim VAT if you register for VAT. And when you charge VAT to persons, you reclaim that VAT on your monthly return. And the end of 6 months, then the GR would refund you back that VAT. So we actually refund you back that VAT because you're collecting those VAT on behalf of the GRE.
Great. Grace, you have your hand up. Go ahead and unmute and ask your question.
And before you go,
Yes,
Miss Deborah, sorry to
Sure, go ahead.
in terms of, I must let you know, in terms of VAT, you cannot charge VAT if you're not registered for VAT. So if the items are on the zero and exempt list, they're not on the zero and exempt list, which we have on our website. That means that they attract VAT. However, if you're selling those items and you have not registered for VAT, you cannot charge a taxpayer VAT on those items. Right? And presently, there are two types of VAT registration. They're mandatory as well as voluntary. The mandatory is if you're making over $50 million, you register. 50 million and more, you register for VAT. That is under the mandatory. However, you can also register as a voluntary VAT registrant, meaning that you perceive that within 12 months, you would be making 50 million and more. Right? But your records must be up to date. You must have a fixed place of abode. All your taxes and returns must be in, right? And you must be trading in taxable items. So that is the case where we allow voluntary persons to register under the voluntary category.
Okay, great. Grace, go ahead.
Yes, a couple of years ago, I wrote a letter to GRA as it related to tax-free. I was bringing in some packaging material and I got it duty-free. With the Ministry of Business now, is that something separate? Because I'm now about to, that was a couple of years ago, I am now about to activate the system again because I now have to import again those packaging materials. How is that the first letter still applicable, or do I have to write again to get approval for that?
So how long you had a letter?
The letter was at least about 5 years ago.
Okay, well,
But
you need to get another one.
it didn't have a date, it didn't have a period, it just had that yes, And you know, it didn't have a cutoff period to say that, well, it expired or anything.
So you had that letter from Ministry of Business?
No, I have it from GRA.
Okay, so on what basis? Because what GRA does, GRA don't give you tax exemption just like that. They give you through either you register with a ministry or you've registered with Go Invest,
Well, what
right?
I had done, not sorry to cut you, but what had happened is that
Mhm.
GRA came, they visited my premises, they saw that I was doing what I was doing, and I needed that, and they saw the packaging material that I was using,
Mhm.
and then I got a letter saying permission was granted to write for the letter. So I mean, like I said, that was 5 or counting, is I think since 2018, 2019. And so maybe things have changed, but I still have the letter. And so that's why I'm asking, because I'm about to bring it, I'm about to, my packaging material is almost finished. So I have to start bringing again. So I
Okay.
want to know, because what I'm telling you, that is all I did. I wrote what's the name? Mr. Slater, I think was that at the time. And I activated that. They came, Stacia, the officers came, they visited where my premises. They saw it was an actual bill, what was going on, and they made a recommendation, and then I wrote, and I got that duty free.
Okay.
And since then, I've only used it once because that was the period, and I had bought a lot, so I now need it again.
Okay. So you said you import those items?
Yes, I did.
Okay. I can't really answer how come you got those exemptions, but there's a list that we have on our website, which it's zero and exempt list, as well as we have on the tariff. And if the tariff as well as the zero and exempt list does not if it has those items on the list and it states that there's no duty or there's no VAT attached to it, yes, you are allowed to bring them in without paying those duties and taxes. However, you must have a broker, because we have this system in place where a broker must facilitate when you bring in any type of item, a
Yeah, that's
car,
last time.
and any other item, you have to get a registered custom broker.
Yes, that was done the last time.
Yeah.
A broker did
All right.
whatever he did, and because
Yeah.
I had to present the letter to the broker. The broker had the letter,
Yeah.
and the process was very smooth. I didn't have any issues with it. But I
Yeah.
was just wondering, because it is so long, that is why I'm asking the question.
Well, for you to get tax exemption, you must go to our tax exemption unit on the 3rd floor of the GRA main office.
Okay.
So you can write if you need any exemption, and it's on the commissioner now. He would now check the tariff. He would also check the zero and exempt list to see if it's allowed for you to have no taxes to be charged on those items. And yes, they would grant you that exemption letter. But 5 years back, that has expired, so you need to get another one. Sorry to say.
Okay. All right.
Yeah. Yes.
All right.
Any
All
other
right.
question?
Thank you, Grace. I'm seeing Anessa Hussein hand is up. You can unmute and go ahead.
Hi, good afternoon again. So my question is about VAT. My line of business is in distribution. We distribute to other resale outlets, right? But the item that we distribute is a zero rated item. However, if you look at it's basically what we work on is the commission of the item, right? And you were mentioning just now that as long as it's over $15 million, then you have to register for VAT. Now, because we're contracted to do just deliveries, do we work on if our commission go over 15 million, or if the bills from the company go over 3 millions, the purchases, the cost of these items? Because sorry, 50 million. If that would, which one you have to use really? Because you were mentioned that now if you make over 50 million.
Okay, so it's the profit. The
If
profit,
you make
if
over
it's so,
50 million
yeah,
profit.
correct.
Okay.
Right.
So
So, and
it would
then
be
your
on your sales.
yeah.
So which exactly is it? Is it
Okay, so remember you have your purchases, you have your sales. When you do your calculation and you realize that yes, you would be making that 15 million, you're supposed to register for VAT, providing that you're dealing with vatable items. In terms of delivery, that is a service that being rendered, and services is vatable.
Okay.
Any
No,
service
because
that
I'm
render.
kind of confused, because with some people, some persons are saying if the sales is over 50 million, while some are saying if your
It's a
income, your profit.
Your profit, yeah.
Okay. 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 Thank you so much.
No problem. Is there any other question before I go on to
Is
the next
there,
slide?
before, whatever, isn't there voluntary registration as well? So
Yeah.
regardless if you meet the criteria, which is, like she said, the $15 million, you can also voluntarily register for VAT, right?
Correct. That's right. Because as I mentioned, you cannot charge VAT if you're not registered for VAT. Right?
So what if
So
what if you projected that you will go over the 50 million, but after 2 consecutive years you're not reaching that target, and you voluntarily registered, but after 2 years you see you're not reaching that 50 million as you thought you would have, then what happens then?
when you can either continue to pay it, or you can ask to be deregistered because you're not making that amount of money. All right? So you can ask for let me read this part of the act that talks about the registration, right? The section 10 of the Value Added Tax Act 8105, right? It's saying, subject to this act, every person who carries on a taxable activity and is not registered is required to apply for a registration within 15 days. The end of any period of 12 or fewer months where during that period that person made taxable supplies, the total value of which equals or exceed the amount specified in paragraph 1, schedule 4, or the beginning of any period of 12 months where there are reasonable grounds to expect that the total value of the taxable supplies to be made by the person during that period will equal to or exceed the amount specified in paragraph 1, schedule 4. And that this paragraph 1 and schedule 4 talks about the $15 million. Right? So if the question is that you're asking if you have to continue, you don't have to continue. You can deregister, right? But then you have to show the commissioner on what grounds you're deregistering on. Right? You have to write him and you will tell him, well, I'm not making this money, so I don't want to continue, but then you can't charge a taxpayer VAT anymore.
Thank you.
And remember, it's a benefit to you actually because I should mention, when you charge a taxpayer VAT, you are benefiting from it, not the taxpayer. The taxpayer is paying you the VAT, and GR would give you back some amount of money as a refund. So you're benefiting as a supplier, as a self-employed person or a company or wherever. You're gaining from it.
Hi, good day, if I may. This is Vishnu Durga speaking. I would like to just clarify a few items because again, this is something that I get involved in on a daily basis. The 15 million is classified as taxable turnover.
Supply, yeah, correct.
Turnover is defined as the sales of a company, not the profit. So which is 1,250,000 in sales. So most of the folks who are on the call here today, they might understand it more as sales or turnover, and in business we call it turnover. And the act actually says taxable turnover, 15 million.
Yeah.
So I don't know if there's a little bit of confusion, but what we don't want the team here who's attending the call to walk away with thinking that it's 15 million in profit, right? Because it's not 15 million in profit. It's 15 million
That's where I got
taxable
confused.
turnover.
Okay,
And
okay.
secondly, as
Thank you.
well, many business people do not understand the concept of collecting VAT, and I also don't want them to think about it as a benefit. It is the taxpayer who ultimately pays the VAT, and what we are doing as business people is we are operating like an extension of the Revenue Authority by taking that 14% from the taxpayer. We might have had some VAT inputs, and a VAT input is basically if I make pepper sauce and I charge VAT on it, that's the 14% I collect from the taxpayer. But I may have bought peppers and glass bottles and labels, and I paid some VAT on those items. What the Revenue Authority allows me to do is take all the VAT that I paid to my vendors and subtract it from what my customer, what the taxpayer is paying me, and then I pay the difference over to the Revenue Authority. So it's not a benefit because I see many business people getting themselves in problem by taking that 14%, charging that 14% and using it in my business. Whereas I'm supposed to only take out the VAT that I paid some point prior, and the rest of it I have to make sure on a monthly basis before the 20th or the 21st, I have to pay over that difference to the Revenue Authority every single month, or else I will be charged interest and late fees and all of that. So I just wanted to know, to be clear, it's not your benefit. It is a benefit that you can subtract the input VAT, but you got to make sure you pay the difference over to GRA. And as soon as you cross that 1,250,000 per month, and if you are operating about 22 days, that's 56,000. So as soon as you start selling 50,000 and over per month, start understanding, 50,000 per day. As soon as you start reaching about 50,000 per day or about 250,000 to 300,000 per week, it is time for you to start paying attention that you will have to register for VAT by the Act, as the Act is laid out there. So, Ms. Watson, I just wanted to jump in to provide some further clarity to the team because these ladies are working on streamlining their businesses, and I want to make sure they have all the clarity they can have.
Okay, thank you so much, Ms. Dr. Dorgo,
Welcome.
for clarifying that. Any other question?
We have a few more questions. We'll just do 2 more questions before we close the session because I know Ms. Watson would have indicated something about time. So we'll just take
Not to
these
worry,
2.
I'll take it.
Okay, excellent. Thank you so much. Do small businesses get duty-free on manufacturing machines and packaging materials? If yes, what are the requirements?
Okay, so you only get, as I mentioned, if you register with Go Invest, as well as the Ministry of Agriculture, Geology and Mines, and some other ministries, right, that responsible for giving duty free. That's the only way GR would give you duty-free, all right? Tax exemption, we call it. In the Act also, the Customs Act, as well as the value-added tax, also provide for some items to be exempted from both VAT as well as customs duty. So there are a number of them. So it's only based on the criteria you have to register with those ministries or with who invest. However, there are some items that automatically get the exemption as long as they're on the customs heading and value added tax heading. Zero and exempt, sorry.
Okay. Another question coming out of Roberta, we have, how old must a company be to get a longer compliance period from GRA? Example, 1 year as opposed to 2 months, etc.
Okay, so you're talking about the person is talking about the actual compliance certificate. I'm not certain.
Roberta, just clarify which one you're talking about.
Yes, the actual certificate.
Okay, so we have 3 months, 6 months, and 1 year. The 3 months is temporary certificate. That is whereby if persons got to attend the compliance, have to get attended compliance, but they have not reached the requirement, we allow them the grace period in which to get their returns in and the taxes up to date. But we still grant them the compliance, right? However, if they have not reached the criteria within the 3 months, they cannot come back to us for us to give them an extension, right? So you have to we give you some time. Then there's a certificate, the compliance certificate for 1 year, right? It's valid for only 1 year. So every year you will have to come back to renew your certificate.
So Ms. Watson, I think what Roberta wants to know is how do you get that one, the 1 year as against the 3 months? Is there a criteria like if I go in and I want to apply, can I just apply for the 1 year, or do I have to be in business for 3 years before I can apply for a 1 year compliance, or it doesn't matter?
It doesn't matter as long as your returns are in and your taxes are up to date. They give you the compliance. It doesn't matter.
Great. And another question coming out of Shamika. How does a person obtain a seller's permit to shop wholesale from overseas-based companies?
Okay, so I cannot answer that question. I'm not au fait with that question. So I can't answer that question from a tax point of view because we don't issue that kind of permit. GRA doesn't issue those permits. So sorry about that.
All right, ladies, the floor is open. Any more questions, any clarifications that need to be made? Miss Watson is here to answer your questions as far as she can.
I have a question.
Yeah, sure, go right ahead.
Earlier in the presentation, you mentioned the liability letter. How do you go about getting that?
Okay, so our forms, the liability form is online. You can go on www.gra.gov.gy. You go to forms and the liability form, you'll see the liability form come up. You fill that form and you bring it into the GRA, or you can send it via your application via online at liability@gra.gov.gy, and then we would call you for an call you back to tell you when to pick up, or if you have any tax or returns outstanding, we ask you to come in and submit those returns, or you can submit them via our online platform, which we call the Optimal or e-services. Yeah.
Okay, and how long does it take?
Well, it all depends on if you don't have any tax or return outstanding, the most it would take is like 3 to 5 working days.
Okay, thank you.
No problem.
All right. Are there any more questions? All right, Ms. Watson, do you have any more closing comments for us?
Okay,
Before.
so I need to make it clear because some persons are not only employed, but they also have their small business. And those persons that have both, they're employed both as a self-employed and as well as the employed, you must notify the GRA of same. And in your return, you have to submit your 7B slip as an employed person in that one return for the year, as well as your profit and loss statement and balance sheet and a summary of those. If you're claiming for wear and tear or loss release, you must submit those schedules in that return, right? In one return. You don't do 2 separate returns for that particular year, right? It must be merged. You add all your income and all your expenses, right? But in cases like this, it's wise that your accountant assists you in preparing those if you're not certain about it, right? The optimal platform or the e-services, when you submit in those returns, you should scan all those documents and upload it to the portal so that we could know so that it could calculate itself for you. All right. I encourage persons who have not registered for the e-services. It's a good idea to register for e-services. It's easier. You can also see your tax status online. You can see how much you return, if you have any returns outstanding, if you have any taxes outstanding, if you have to get a refund, everything is there. So you can go to our website and see how to register for e-services. It's easy. If you need help, you can contact the Tax Advisory Services Unit and we can assist you in doing that. All right. Another thing, you don't have to come into the GRA and join those long lines anymore. We have our payment arrangements. You can pay via MMG, Republic Bank, Bill Express through Bank of Baroda. So we make life easy for you, right? And that's about it for me. If you have, and this is our contact information, you can screenshot it. And I'll also forward this PowerPoint presentation to Miss Deborah, and so that she can share it with you. Is there any other questions for me before I go?
All right, so we have 2 questions, but it's addressed in the presentation. So when we share the presentation, it will address those 2, right?
Okay, then. Thank you, Miss Austin.
No problem. I would just like to extend my sincere gratitude to Ms. Watson and Ms. Balram for the informative and engaging presentation on compliance and business culture. Your expertise and valuable insights provided us with a deeper understanding of the essential topics. A special thanks also to the participants for your active engagement and your thoughtful questions. Your contributions did make the session much more enjoyable because we were able to interact with you. And I just want to give you a quick reminder about the tax estimator. It is already on the Bankability Fund website, so you can go there and you can practice the same things that you would have learned today. And also when you get the slides that we will share from the presenter today. So once again, to everyone on the session, thank you for being here. And I hope that you take away as much as I took away today from the session. All right, so good afternoon, everybody, and do have a great rest of the day.
Thank you. Good afternoon.
Thank you, Miss Austin.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Miss Austin.
Thank you.
Thank you too, Miss Watts.
I'll
Thank
send the
you.
presentation now too.
Bye.
Bye.
Yes, please.
Bye.
Okay.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.
Bye.